Hello everyone, I'm Max and you read the title. That's right, we are ranking every single enemy in all of Half-Life. That includes all of the expansions, all of the episodes, and Half-Life Alyx. I will be ranking them based on their design, creativity, and gameplay, which basically stands for how annoying they are. Also, remember that this is just my opinion, yada yada yada, you know the drill. This is definitely not a comprehensive list since there's over 90 freaking enemies to rate here, so let's not waste any more time and start with the first game. And the first enemy you encounter, which is the head crab. Oh, technically the first enemy you see is the Vortigaunt? Oh, it appears for like a few seconds in the test chamber? Oh, I see. Well, the Vortigaunt is first up. This guy right here is a classic. I personally love the Vorts, for the most part. They require you to do more than just run up to them and shoot them without thinking. Since these guys shoot energy beams that are hit scan, you need to hide behind cover to avoid their attacks. And on modes like hard mode, they are a real big threat. Personally, I like challenging but not overpowered enemies, and this guy isn't overpowered as 99% of the time when they appear there's cover you can hide behind. So I think they are a very good enemy, very classic and memorable too, so we're starting this off with a good old S tier. Ah yes, the most iconic enemy in all of gaming, yet one of the most annoying too. Most of the time these guys appear and jump scare you to get cheap damage on you, which doesn't seem too bad, but on normal and especially hard mode, they still do enough damage to make a difference in your next fight. They aren't hard to kill, they're just really annoying, honestly. And you can't one-shot them with a crowbar on normal difficulty like in Half-Life 2. Sorry for being so negative from the start, but I just really don't like these guys. They also have some cool moments in the story, I guess, and they do create a better enemy, but I'm gonna give it a low B tier just because of how annoying they are. I personally prefer the Half-Life 2 headcrabs way more. These ones can't be one-shot with a crowbar, so it makes it much harder to kill them without taking more than one hit. Next, we have the good old Zombie, a fairly decent and memorable enemy that is pretty easy to deal with. There sure is a lot of them though. Not much to say about them really, as they just walk towards you and attack you. They have a few cool moments, but otherwise, I think I will give them high B tier, only above headcrabs because they aren't annoying. It would be higher, but they aren't really that engaging in my opinion. They serve more as cannon fodder than anything else. Next, we have the bull squid. Firstly, this guy's design is really cool. I actually never realized this until recently, but they have eyes on the side of their head, which I think is just so cute. They are pretty dangerous up close and pretty harmless from afar, but they are always pretty fun to fight. They are also pretty tanky too, so if you encounter one up close, it's actually really scary to fight it. Hell, they can survive grenades in some difficulties. Overall, I'm gonna give it an A tier. Okay, now we have my favorite enemy. Sure, I might have some bias, but I'm sorry, the Hound Eye is just going in S tier. Its design is awesome, its attacks are funny but dangerous. I especially like the parts where there are a ton of them that suddenly rush you and you have to quickly dispatch of all of them before you get blown to smithereens. Their sounds are just adorable. I think you can understand why I love them so much. I'm also gonna change this to be a little bit more accurate. Next up is the Roach. Yes, they are technically an enemy, I guess. I consider them enemies in real life, so I think they belong on this list. You probably didn't even know these little guys existed, and honestly, I didn't either until playing through the game again. And as you would expect, they aren't really getting a high rating. I'm giving them a D, but apparently they have super detailed Roach AI, so I could be underrating them here, but I don't know. Next is the Barnacle. I have a lot of mixed feelings on these guys. Sometimes they are a good way to make the player think before they walk into an area and be careful where they step. Other times they are super annoying and just need to be dealt with. I really don't think they are bad or really good. I think they are okay. The design and idea behind them is pretty cool too, so I'll give them a low A or B. I might change it later. Now we have another amazing enemy. The HECU soldiers are always fun to fight for me. Mostly because every encounter with them is more action-oriented and guns are cool. Yeah, I'm an American, I love gunfights, okay? They have a perfect balance between overpowered and underpowered. Just, wow. I think there's a term for that, actually. They can flank you, throw grenades, and shoot you, which is why I love them. Dynamic enemies are always awesome. They suffer a little bit from being dumbasses and killing themselves sometimes, but I can forget that for the role they play in the story, and the game as a whole. Surface tension will always be the best chapter for me, so I'm giving them S tier. And the same goes for the HECU commanders, aka the guy wearing the beret and the guy smoking a cigar, which I am counting as a different enemy because they shoot grenades at you rather than toss them. I also think the red beret guy can give commands to soldiers, but I'm not too sure about that one. Although the MP5 grenades can be annoying and out of left field, I really like their designs, especially the red beret dude. He's amazing for thumbnails. However, the shotgun soldiers, I think I'm gonna lower them down a tier. I really do not like fighting these guys. You can say skill issue all you want, but I think their DPS is just way too high, especially on hard mode. Jeez, I play hard mode too much. A lot of the time, they ambush you and take away a ton of your health. You don't really expect them, so I really end up just save loading after encountering one because they just take so much health too quickly. I'm not gonna let my skill issue affect them that much, though. They are still fun to fight if you can manage to do it. Just try to keep your distance from them. Next up, we have the Sentry, which counts as an enemy according to these people. They are a fun obstacle to deal with at best and an annoying bitch at worst. I don't have much to say about them, except I really hate the one on the cliffside. I'll give them low A tier, I guess. It's not gonna stay there. Next is the Leech, a very minor and very annoying enemy. The only thing I remember them for is this one part where they block your way and forget about Freeman. That's it. They hurt a little bit, but honestly, I think they are D tier. Super uninteresting and annoying. Next is the guy I cannot pronounce the name of. He is the only actual danger underwater, and a pretty scary one at that. He only appears as an enemy a few times in the playthrough, and he forces you to use only 2 types of weapons against him. I kinda like this guy and the danger he brings to the underwater sections, so I'll give him a solid A tier. Although I love these little guys as a weapon, same cannot be said as an enemy. They are tiny, hard to hit, and the section where you are forced to fight them is just horrible. The best way to deal with them is to just run away from them until they explode, which in my opinion, isn't that fun or interesting. I guess I'll give it a C tier, only the absolute bottom. What saves it from being D tier is the funny little sounds they make. Oh boy, it's everyone's favorite enemy. Yeah, I think you know what I'm gonna rate them. The whole idea behind the assassins sounds cool on paper, but in reality, it's so annoying to kill these bastards. If you fight them head on, prepare to lose tons of health. If not, well then good luck setting up mines in certain places without getting blown up, or just having them ignore the mines outright. The whole thing with them being invisible is just too... Skill issue, Max! No, this is not a skill issue. An enemy that can turn completely invisible is not fun to fight against, okay? So I'm giving her a B tier. Okay, I need to pause right here because while editing this, I realized that the assassins only have the invisibility thing on hard mode. Every other mode is just them without the cloak. I'd probably push her up to A tier if I knew this. Next up are the Black Ops guys. Honestly, even though they look cool and have guns, they are just carbon copies of the HECU with slightly more health. In fact, they don't even have any of those silly voice lines the HECU yell at you. Because of that and the general lack of creativity, I'm giving them a B tier as well. Oh yeah, and there's also a sniper variant I forgot to put on here. These guys are so annoying and hard to kill for some reason, so screw them, C tier. Same goes for the sniper enemies in the first Half-Life, which are just cardboard cutouts. They are annoying, and they remind me of a certain person from a game I like, so no. Next up is the alien Grunt. Now this guy is definitely a cool enemy, who is slightly annoying to fight thanks to his aimbot bullets. But his design is cool, the threat he poses forces you to take care of him as soon as possible or suffer. He does have a lot of health, but not too much to make him overpowered, so I think he deserves a solid A tier. Tentacles are very interesting and honestly hard to rate. They appear a few times in the games and are only a big threat in Blast Pit, but I really like the design and the uniqueness of being stealth around them, or being a maniac and throwing grenades everywhere to confuse the hell out of them. Overall, I think I can also give them an A tier. Next up is the Apache helicopter, and I actually really love this thing. Although I wish it was more obvious you could fight them with more than just the rocket launcher. This is what happens when you play Half-Life 2 before Half-Life 1, so I'm not faulting them for that. It is a huge threat that you must hide from and strike at the right moment. And honestly, Apaches are always cool in video games, so I'm gonna give it the top of A tier. Going from a really good enemy to a very mediocre one, it's called the, M2A3 Bradley, according to the wiki. And they appear a few times as very minor threats, let's be honest. They shoot rockets at you that move very slowly towards you that you can easily dodge. Oh, except for the specific one in this map that shoots bullets at you. Yeah, that one really is a big pain in the ass. I don't know. I'll give them a B tier, below the zombie because it's pretty forgettable, honestly. When I think of Half-Life, I don't think of the M2A1... M2A3 Bradley. Yes, that enemy. Okay, this is just a tank. The M1A1 Abrams. This thing honestly blows. For one, this thing barely appears in the first place, twice in the first game and once in Blue Shift. I didn't even know that, I just ran past it by accident. Secondly, it can be easily ignored and bypassed. It can't even turn the turret that much at all, and most of the time you can just run by cover and avoid it easily without even needing to kill it. And thirdly, you can destroy it with small arms fire and even a damn crowbar. Which, like, come on, why? It's very stupid, honestly, but a nitpick, and same thing goes for the APC too, now that I mention it. But the previous reasons makes me think the Abraham Lincoln deserves to be in C tier. Next is the Osprey, which is also kind of forgettable. It only appears twice in the first game. Once you can't even fight it and you have to avoid it as it drops a few soldiers down, and again in Surface Tension where it drops down soldiers infinitely until you destroy it. But, admittedly, it does have a pretty cool death explosion. Otherwise, there's not much to talk about here, so, B tier, I guess. With all the vehicles done, let's get some more non-living enemies out of the way, like the ceiling-mounted turret. Once again, not much to say. They only appear in a few areas, and are a pretty big threat, I guess, even though they are easily destroyed and deactivated. There's also only 2 in the whole first game. I'm not too sure how many times they appear in the others, but I really don't care. I think they deserve a C tier. There's also a bigger Gatling gun version that's even rarer and only appears once in the first game, in this room right here. It's technically an enemy, so I have to rank it, but just look at it. I guess you are supposed to use it to fight the Zen creatures here, but I found it much easier to just try to kill everything myself. It's pretty annoying and it really doesn't need to exist. It's a D tier for me. Next is the Gargantua, and also sorry if it feels like I'm kind of rushing these here. There's a ton of enemies to rank, so please cut me some slack, okay? If you are enjoying the video so far though, maybe consider leaving a like and comment, Anyways, yeah, Gargantua, big scary armored guy. Honestly, I think he's amazing. It requires you to think of some other way to kill it every time you encounter it, which makes it a unique experience. Unless you are like me and chose to kill the thing with all of my explosives on the first playthrough. I didn't even know you were supposed to kill it with that energy thing back there. Then there is also the chase and Surface Tension, which is pretty awesome too. It also appears in Interloper, although it's easily avoided, so... I think it's on the same level as the Apache, honestly. Oh, that's the baby head crab. And I swear to God, if I get comments saying that this thing is underrated and misunderstood, I'm going to kill somebody in a pacifist run. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Next is the Gnome, or Genome, whatever you call it, which are exclusive to Opposing Force. I think they are okay. They are much more engaging and interesting than the normal zombies, so I think they deserve an A tier. Above these guys. Now, if you thought the previous turrets were underused, look at this guy. This Zen turret thingy only appears once in Forget About Freeman. That's it. And it kinda hurts you, I guess. Legit nothing else to say about this thing. I'm gonna give it D tier. There's also these things. They, zap you. They appear in Zen, and honestly, I could care less about these things since they are so uninteresting. You can only wonder how Zen would have been if it wasn't rushed. Oh my God. I'm giving it a D tier as well, sorry. Next up, we have Zen trees, which attack the player for a lot of damage if you get close to them. That's it. Look guys, I know these are very uninteresting and barely count as enemies, but they are listed as so in the game, so they must be ranked. I'm gonna give it top of D tier, I guess. Next up is the Zen controller. Yeah, no, sorry, I hate these guys. Why? Super annoying to fight, questionable hit detection, and it appears too often in my opinion. Now I must admit, in my last tier list, I really slept on the Hive Hand, as this thing practically hard counters these guys, although it takes some time to kill them with it. So now that I properly use the Hive Hand, I don't think these guys are nearly as annoying and hard to fight. Still annoying, just not fun to fight at all, so C tier. If an enemy makes you groan and say, God, not that thing again, I'm not gonna rate it favorably. Next is the good old Gonarch. I actually liked her boss fight. It definitely has a lot of flaws though, especially those damn baby head crabs she spawns. It's still kinda hard to rate her though. She's definitely better than the assassins, and I guess she's also better than those guys. Yeah, that's good. I'm also gonna lower the turret because, yeah. Up Next is, oh wow, another rushed Zen enemy. To be honest, I don't even know if this thing appears anywhere else other than the first map of Interloper, which we all know sucks. I'm not even gonna bother with this thing, I'm just gonna go in D tier. Now let's cover some of the Race X stuff, starting with the Shock Trooper. I see some people hate on these guys, but I actually really like them. They are challenging but fair, kind of like the alien grunts, but with no aimbot homing stuff. Their design is kind of cool too, so I'm gonna give them A tier. Oh yeah, also after you kill them, they drop their weapon. It can attack you, and it's technically an enemy, but it soon dies after, so like, yeah, I don't think this deserves anything higher than a D tier. And lower the shotgun guy too, I guess. I like the grunt more than the shotgun guy. Next up is the Pit Drone. It's kind of a love-hate relationship with these guys. They sound funny, they kind of have like that scrunkle energy, but they're also pretty annoying to fight and shoot high-damage darts that are super hard to avoid. High B tier. And I see some things wrong here with this list, so let's just fix some stuff up. There. Better. Now we have the Vortigaunt, aka these big bad guys you can easily run past. I mean, they are pretty dangerous. They can shoot energy balls at you that practically insta-kill you, and they are also huge tanks with tons of health, which is why you should probably run past them. Not much else to say other than I'm not a really big fan of their design, so I'm gonna put them in B tier as well. Oh yeah, there's also a baby version you see like once in some tunnels. Why? Why do these exist? I guess it's cool to see baby versions of them for like immersion purposes, but really there's nothing to talk about with them. Sorry buddy, D tier for you.
That was too mean. I think it honestly deserves C tier, but I didn't record it.
The Pitworm is next, and I'm sorry for rating all these things like this, but most of the Race X creatures are just so mid to me. I mean, yeah, this guy's pretty cool, I guess. You gotta activate some stuff to defeat him, or you can just skip him. He's so mid to me, I'm sorry. I'm giving him B tier as well, man. Next, we have the only Blue Shift exclusive enemy. That's right, give it up for the Chum Toad!
What? You don't know what the Chum Toad is?
Let me just show you it in all its greatness. Hold on a second. Look at that. Look at it. Look at it! Yup, I think it deserves its own tier. There you go, buddy. Now let's talk about the final bosses, starting with the extremely mid one, the, Gene Worm, in Opposing Force. Yeah, I mean, at least this guy isn't forgettable, kind of. He does not look that interesting, though, honestly. He just looks like a generic alien thing to me. I mean, I guess his fight is kind of fun. I'll give him B tier as well. I'm sorry, Race X, really, I am. Jesus. The last OG Half-Life enemy we have here is the Antlion. I like him. His design is good, his attacks are kinda mid, but good too, I guess. I don't really like the whole teleportation mechanic though, but it is necessary to give more ammo to the player. They could probably just put that in this stupid arena though. He's also extremely memorable and plays a big part in the story, which is a plus. His final fight could have been better, but I think it deserves A tier. That might be too high, but I don't know. Now that all of the first game's enemies are done, let's go to Half-Life Alyx. Cause technically, if we are doing this in order, this game takes place before the second game. If you don't want spoilers or just don't care, you can skip to this timestamp. The first one up is the Combine Grunt, who I love. I love the gas tanks you can shoot on them, I love their design, I hate saying this over and over again, but Valve is just really good at design, alright? Honestly, all of these guys deserve S tier, especially the Charger. Oh my god, the Charger's awesome. The shield thing he does is very cool, and he is definitely the scariest enemy to fight in the game. Not like spooky scary, but like threatening scary. Now listen, I would be showing all of the footage of this, but it's actually very, very annoying and difficult to get footage of the game itself, so sorry, but I have to go and just find other footage from the internet. Anyways, all of these enemies are amazing, except one certain enemy. Screw the electric headcrab thing. I didn't even bother to crop it out properly. I could say so much about why I hate this thing, but I think the main reason is the parts where it takes over the zombie corpses. The fights are just too drawn out, man. I can't stand it. Anyways, there's also armored headcrabs, and they are pretty cool, They are only vulnerable under the protective shell, so you need to be a bit creative to kill them. I'll give them an A tier. Next up is the Antlion and the Antlion Spitter, which I forgot to add to the list. I think they both deserve an A tier. Great design, great combat, especially with the normal Antlion, since you gotta shoot them in specific areas to kill them. The next one is Jeff, who is probably the best enemy in the game and gets an instant S tier. Although for some reason I forgot to put him on the list too. Jeff has a whole chapter dedicated to himself, and it's my personal favorite, as going through all of the horrors of the distillery in VR was an unforgettable experience. His mechanics are really fun to play around, and being careful about every single sound and item you pick up was just one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. And that's all of them. I bet you noticed that I didn't rank some enemies here, and well, that's because they are pretty similar to the ones from Half-Life 2, and honestly, this list is already too long. Just assume they are in the same places as the others I rank next, which is going to be the Half-Life 2 enemies. Starting with the Half-Life 2 headcrab. I am a strong believer that the headcrab in Half-Life 2 is the one that should be remembered and is 100% better than the OG one. It can be one-shot by the crowbar, which is just satisfying, and they just generally feel less annoying. That's probably because of the gravity gun punting and funny physics, though. I'm still giving it an S tier. I don't care. This is my tier list, and I get to do what I want. Oh yeah, also the fast headcrab exists. It's a headcrab, but fast. A tier. Next up is these guys. I actually really like the poison headcrab, even though they annoyingly get rid of all of your health with one hit. It's not permanent, and they telegraph their attacks with a loud screech, which is actually kind of fun to counter by either quickly dodging them, or taking out your crowbar and swinging at them, killing them before it's too late. I really like the black color too, so I'm gonna give it the top of A tier. Next up is the other barnacle, and this is probably my Half-Life 2 bias, but I really like these ones more than the first game as well. For one, you can counter them with props, which is nice, but there is also way more creative sections in here that lets you blow up barnacles or dodge them in better ways than the first game made you do so. So in my opinion, they belong in A tier. Now moving on to the Combine guys, we are starting with the Civil Protection Officer. 100% deserves S tier. Such a memorable and great enemy in the game. It has a cool design, cool lore, I love them. The Death Sound 2 is also the icing on the cake in terms of morbid story elements. I believe they deserve this spot. Same goes for the Combine Soldier. They're always fun to fight, their design and sound effects are awesome. Like, come on man, do I even need to explain it? Although the Shotgun Soldier kind of suffers the same fate as the HECU Shotgun guy. But I do think it's way better that you are easily able to tell that this guy is super dangerous and you need to take care of him from a distance thanks to the red eyes he has. And you have more chances to do so in this game compared to the first one. Also, I can relate to those red eyes, so I'll give him at least the bottom of S tier. Next is the Combine Elite, and yeah, he deserves S tier. This guy's design is just amazing. He also gets all of the credit that the previous Combine dudes got, and he can fire energy balls. Like, that's just awesome. Lastly, there's also Combine Snipers, which I also forgot to put on the list. God, I hate myself. I think they deserve a B tier, as they are way less annoying to deal with compared with the ones from the first game, since you can easily tell what they are, and you can do some fun little jukes with them. Next is, Camera. It's listed as an enemy for some reason, and it doesn't shoot at you. It doesn't do anything, actually. It just spots you. Screw this thing, it goes to the bottom. And the next one is basically the same thing, but it can shoot at you. I don't even really remember where these things appear in the game, so I guess I'll just give it the same spot as the other turret. Oh yeah, I forgot to add this too, but there's also floor turrets in Overwatch Nexus. Screw these things, bottom. Next up is the City Scanner. So, at most, these things are slightly annoying, but they're kind of cool, though. In the intro, they follow you around and take pictures of you so the Combine can locate you, and they can blind you. They are also easy to destroy. I guess they can go in B tier. Yeah, that seems okay. Next up is the same thing, except it appears in Follow Freeman and Anti-Citizen 1, I think. It also carries mines too, but otherwise it's just the exact same thing. I'm gonna put it right next to the other one. Next up is the Roller Mine. I like its design, but they aren't much. It can disable your vehicle, which is pretty annoying, and it requires you to step out to launch them off with a gravity gun, and they can also attack you and deal some pretty good damage. I'll give them a B tier. Jeez, I've been putting a lot in B tier. Next up is the Manhack, which is my favorite of the Combine robot things. They are just so iconic. The way they interact with the environment and the ways you can fight them is just awesome and practically always fun, except for like a few moments when you're trying to shoot them but you miss every shot, but I can put that aside. It's about 90% of the time they're fun to fight, at least for me. Remember guys, this is all my opinion. I think they deserve top of A tier. Next one is the Half-Life 2 zombie, and this one has multiple advantages over the first game zombies. Mainly, they can be cut in half by saws, which is always fun, and they can launch props at you to attack you, which is really cool. They also have those creepy voice lines that play when you light them on fire, which is also very disturbing, but cool. I think they go in A tier. They also have a crawler version, which can't do as much as the bipedal one, but is certainly dangerous as they can attack your ankles very quickly and deal tons of damage, if you're not careful. It's kind of annoying, but most of the time you find them after blowing up zombies. They're not that common at all. I will give them A tier as well. Next up is the fast zombie. Easiest S tier ever. The design, the sounds, their behavior, everything is just perfect. They are the real scary parts of Ravenholm, which is why I love them a ton. They are super fun to fight, and I love the parts where you had to fend them off while waiting for lifts to arrive. They definitely deserve an S tier. There's also a crawler version of him too, it just looks more creepy and crawls faster. I'll put him with the other crawler. Next up is the poison zombie. He's like the tanker version of the normal zombie with the added bonus of poison head crabs. He's pretty dangerous and looks awesome and also makes these sounds, which I think personally are pretty scary, so I guess he also gets an A tier. Next up is the head crab combine unit. Alright, let's get all the Zombine jokes out of the way. This is the best zombie in the game 100%. The idea of a combine unit getting controlled by a head crab is cool enough, but the fact that they rush you and they can pull out grenades to try to kill you makes them a very formidable threat. And every time I see them, I smile, because I know I'm gonna use that grenade they have for something The sounds they added to this guy is amazing too. S tier. Come on. Now we have Antlions. I know some people really dislike these guys, sometimes I do too, but I think they are a really well-designed swarm enemy. They mainly appear in Sand Traps and in episode 1 and 2. The parts in Sand Traps / Highway 17 is kind of annoying with the infinite amount of them, but you are in a car and thumpers exist. And the fact that you get to control them during the storming of Nova Prospekt makes them even better, even though they're technically not an enemy. I'm gonna give them S tier. The Antlion worker also shares a lot of the traits with the Antlion, except it can spit acid and explode once killed. Although it's restricted to the caves in episode 2, I still think they are a pretty fun enemy to go up against. I also love how they work together alongside normal Antlions. I think they deserve to go in the top of A tier. Antlion grubs. They don't deserve anything. I hate those things, no. You go join the baby head crab down there. It's been getting lonely. Listen, guys, they are the reason the Pacifist Half-Life 2 episodes will not happen. Next up is the Antlion Guard, which is another amazing enemy. I mean, just look at them. They are one of the few enemies in Half-Life 2 that requires you to think and strategize instead of just running up to them and shooting. Wait, I literally said that already before about the... Oh. Or hiding behind cover and shooting. They also take a bit more to take down, which I love. It's fun to fight them, and I think they definitely deserve an S tier as well. There's also another version of it that basically acts the same, except it's in the Antlion caves. And it's also 10 times more scary. I'm just gonna rate it the same. Next up are the Stalkers, who technically count as enemies since they stop you from progressing with their lasers in episode 1. There's not much to talk about. They are torture humans that got turned into this. So sad. Doesn't really make them great though, so C tier. I'm sorry, man. Also, I'm just gonna lower these real quick. Next up is an amazing enemy, the Hunter Chopper. I don't think I need to say much as to why this is an amazing enemy you face in the game. It chases you throughout the first few chapters in the first game, then you get to ride a boat and fight it in a mini boss fight, then you get to fight it again in episode 2 with a freaking gravity gun using its own explosives. Come on, man. Easy S tier. Next up is the Combine Gunship. It's way more common than the Hunter Chopper and is basically the RPG sponge of the game. I think it's definitely pretty fun to fight these things with the RPG. The sound design and visual design is pretty cool too. Overall, awesome enemy. I'll put it in A tier. The dropship also exists. You don't really fight it directly, but it does appear multiple times in the game, dropping off troops and striders for you to fight. So I guess it deserves some credit for that. It also has a machine gun mounted to it to keep you from killing Combine as they jump out, which is annoying, but fair. I'll give it a B tier. Next up is the APC. You only really fight these in episode 1 and Water Hazard. They only shoot rockets at you and shoot bullets sometimes. They're kind of boring, honestly. I think I'll put it in B tier as well. Next is the Hunter. I'm sorry, but S tier all the way, baby. I mean, come on. Sorry to be a broken record, but the sound design, visual design, concept, gameplay, everything about them is amazing. There is legit nothing to complain about with them, except for the fact that they jump out of the way from my car, like, why don't you just stand still and let me run you over? I love these guys so much, and fighting them with either the gravity gun, revolver, or pulse rifle is always super fun. This is the only thing me and Purple Colonel will agree on. And this one too. Another tripedal enemy we have here is the Strider, which is also an S tier, of course. Look at this thing. Look at it. I think this might be the most iconic Combine synth, and personally my favorite enemy in Half-Life 2. All of their scenes is just amazing, and they are a big threat that you must run away from until you are able to fight back. We can all agree that this is S tier, and I don't know why there are two of them here. I'll give its twin that tier. I don't like the way it's looking at me. Oh yeah, by the way, the Ichthyosaur is also in this game too. He only appears once and it's in a cutscene. D tier. And last but certainly not least, the Advisor. Technically an enemy even though you don't really directly fight it. You see them multiple times in cutscenes, and the last cutscene too. Well, let's see here. They got the floats, they have mind powers, they got that disgusting tongue thing, they look like a hot air balloon. I think they get an A tier. They're pretty cool in terms of the story too. And that's all of them. That was exhausting. Wait a minute. There's one more.
What the hell is that? What is he doing there?
There. Anyways, thank you for watching till the end of the video. If I forgot any enemies here, please comment telling me what I missed. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and share for more content like this, and check out my other better videos linked in the description. I'd like to thank my special Patreon supporters Octavo, The Boxman, Pile8422, Wah1999, and Nutty2112. I need to go work on something special. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!